Yeah, it looks like it's recording.
Yep.
All right, so we will start the July 15th meeting of the Board of Trustees. And we have a quorum, so we have a quorum. And we have public comment. So you're allowed 3 minutes for public comment. Do you have?
Okay, we didn't have anything planned. We're mostly here to listen.
Okay.
We're interested in what's going on. We just
Okay, cool.
want to be here.
Great, thank you.
We are.
All right,
Welcome.
and
The audio is going online at 7.
Okay.
Amy Shaw's
Oh, and that's Amy. Okay, all right, so with the,
Like their name?
what's that?
Can we ask their names?
Oh, yeah, can you introduce yourself? We don't normally do, but
We
go
don't know how
ahead.
to do it, so.
My name is Emily.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Robin.
Robin, okay. Okay, with no public comment, we'll move on to consideration and approval of the minutes from May 20th. Anybody have any comments about the minutes? No, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I move approval of the May 20th minutes.
Second.
Okay, with the discussion, all in favor of approving the meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, none opposed? No? Okay, those are approved. All right. Library policy review. Who's gonna lead this discussion? Amy or? Okay,
You have several policies before you tonight. Andy sent in comments in advance, appreciate it. I think all very well clear, but I'm willing to open up to see if there are any questions or other concerns that we can certainly bring. Andy's probably up on the board.
I can also.
I know Amy has seen them. What's that?
So I'm also happy to reiterate my comments.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
can you please do? Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and is your goal to approve these tonight, or is this just?
That's entirely up to you. So we don't come in to go, you can say, you can make changes and agree to approve to be changes, and then we can accept, we can do move forward with that. You can say you want changes to be considered. I think Amy Schill will probably want to weigh in on some of these things.
Okay.
At which point, then we can take it back and rewrite it and bring it back to you either next month or whatever you're choosing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so just for folks' context, I sent David maybe a couple of questions and comments in advance just to give him a chance to look at them prior to the meeting. I don't know how much other folks have read these that closely. I think I had a couple of comments on the password policy, so if we want to take them one at a time, maybe I'll start there. I think my main comments here were primarily around, and forgive me if we're getting too deep into the weeds here, like I'm happy to take some of this offline, but it does seem like right now the password policy requires 90-day password rotations, which is kind of no longer considered best practice in the industry, and this is my industry, so I'll just note that as background. So I think it's worth thinking about it. I'm sure we're using a template here, but if no one has a strong feeling about keeping the 90-day password rotations, I would opt to remove those.
What is the best practice?
So the problem with 90-day password rotations is that most of the research says it just makes people choose bad passwords because you're changing them every 3 months. So the preferable way of doing it is to only rotate passwords when you believe they've been exposed, which generally means you do need some mechanism for like testing your passwords against whether or not they've been exposed, but generally it does not mean you want to just rotate them automatically every 90 days. So the US federal government has changed their standard on this policy, so if we want to, I can give you the NIST citations if we care, but if we want to kind of align with the federal government's guidance on this, it would be to actually not do 90-day password rotations. The related topic on that is the password complexity requirements. Similarly, we've kind of moved away from those because we're trying to encourage folks to pick longer passphrases, which would be like a series of words to form a long sentence, which is hard to put an exclamation point or an ampersand in. So it might be worth moving to like a 16-character minimum length, but getting rid of the requirements for special characters. That would align us with the kind of NIST guidance on this topic, which is what the federal government would follow. That's the wonkiest thing I'm gonna say all night.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, well, so I guess my question is, given not going into politics, but given the federal government now, when did,
These
Those changes
changes were
happen.
2016 timeframe.
okay,
They've been in place for a little while.
okay,
This is not a Dodge related.
okay, no, yeah, just checking.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Hey, Amy, we can hear you.
Hi, good evening. Thanks so much for looking over these policies this evening. I appreciate that. And Andy, I appreciate your expertise in the password policy. What I can say is we have been writing up these policies to meet our compliancy standards, and the password selection as far as like choosing numbers and letters rather than a phrase was something that had been done in the past, and we were trying to keep it easy for staff. But Andy, I see your point about that leading to weaker passwords. Both the complexity of the password as well as the 90-day rotation, I would be happy to take that back to Focus Connect. These came as recommendations from Focus Connect in order for us to meet our compliancy when the auditors come in at the beginning of next year. And we can certainly make some adjustments based off your recommendations. As I think that if these are old standards, we should certainly, change our policy, and this is the time to do it. So I'm happy to talk with you offline with this, Andy, if this is what the board would like us to do. And we can make sure that some of these changes that are suggested will still keep us compliant in regards to the compliancy work that we're getting ready to get going on.
Focus Connect, for those of you that don't remember, that's the network management company that we outsource.
Yeah, and Amy, that all sounds good to me, and yes, ultimately, this is your policy at the end of the day, and you're the one that will have to defend it to the auditors, not me, so, it's not like my feeling on this topic is so strong that I would vote against it, but I think maybe it is worth a discussion with Focus Connect on whether we would update this. You can definitely sell this to auditors, but it may not, having done it myself, but again, Focus Connect may not be in the business of historically selling this. This has changed in the last 5 years, and we did the wrong thing for 20 years prior to that, so there's a lot of old memory embedded in that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll absolutely take note of this. And when I'm back in the office, I'll talk to Focus Connect, and it's possible that we'll do some rewriting and you'll see this policy again. So I would not approve it this evening. I think we can make some changes on it.
I had a question, like, just with the password, why would, this is kind of a field that seems to change quite a bit, and would it be something we always review as a board, or could there be ad hoc, I would think this is something that we would empower the IT and the library staff to sort of change as needed. Like this kind
So
of,
take it out of the policy then, Doug? Is that what you're recommending, and make it more of a procedural thing?
I think you guys can have a policy, but I'm wondering if it's something that the board would need to review.
We don't have any policies that are not approved by the board.
Okay,
We
so
can
all
make it a procedure,
the procedure,
so that's what we're.
but no, I mean, that's just my,
I think again, in terms of compliance. we
I did have a similar thought, Doug, as well. I mean, you guys don't necessarily need me sitting here nitpicking the password policy, but I think, David's right, like, all of our policies are approved by the
yeah,
board
so we
today,
can continue that.
I guess the way you could ultimately split this up, and Amy, I don't know that you need to do this now, but like, if we wanted to think about a world in the future where you devolve some of this out of policy, it would be like, the policy would just say we have a password standard, and then you would go write the actual standard that has the details in it, and you wouldn't have to bring that back to us.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion, especially as things are changing. They're changing faster than our policies are updated.
I'm curious about the very last section about non-compliance, where it talks about anyone who violates it would have their privileges, access privileges revoked. What happens after that? So let's say I'm a board member and I blatantly violate the password rules and my access is revoked. Like, is there like a time period for how long that is in place? Like, what do we do to fix it?
So I think that's probably a conversation between the employee and the supervisor. In this instance, it would probably be between the board and I'm not sure, David, Doug?
Oh,
Doesn't seem to apply to
My
that.
assumption is it's a scare tactic, Sylvia, like, you could lose all your TV time
Okay.
if you don't do this.
Right, no, I just was just trying to understand. like,
well, and I would guess that you couldn't enter in a password that violated the policy.
Right, no, but I'm,
Yeah, I
I'm
get
just
it,
throwing
yeah.
it out there just because
Yeah.
I could see an instance where it was observed that an employee was using the same password for all of their logins or something like that, or they were frequently getting hacked, that kind of thing. And that's basically a conversation that the supervisor would have with the employee, but the intent is to not do that. So it is a scare tactic. I believe that particular paragraph is at the end of all of the IT policies. All of these policies were boilerplate that we've been making changes to so that it's going to work for our auditors and it's going to work in a library environment. And that particular paragraph, I believe, is literally in every one of our IT policies. But that doesn't mean that it has to stay there. If the board is recommending something different, we can certainly take that back.
I think it's,
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that I'm not, I don't think that it should be there, I'm just trying to unpack it a little bit more.
Sure.
And it looks like pretty standard policy language to me. I had one question on the acceptable use policy as well. Are there other questions on the password policy?
I just wondered, because you mentioned a trustee as an example, but yet these don't apply to trustees, but should there be?
It does.
They do.
It does.
The scope includes board members.
Scope says board members.
Maybe I'm looking at the other one that says it only applies to employees.
Yeah, it's page 11.
It says, at the very beginning, it says it applies to board members, and then the non-compliance starts with anyone.
Yeah.
So, but then the next
Okay.
sentence starts with employees. So the
Okay,
first sentence is
sorry.
like, we could have our privileges revoked, we wouldn't get our pay docked.
Right.
Logically.
Right.
That'd be weird if that was possible.
I'm sorry. So I was looking at attachment at the other policy that does not involve trustees. Okay, got it. I was looking at the other one.
Yeah, I mean, if we wanted to get really nitpicky on the non-compliance, the library probably legally can't remove a board member's access for non-compliance with policies that the board
Right.
themselves supersede.
No, and I wasn't
Like,
even
for
going
which-
there, I'm just like trying to like figure out like what that would look like.
Publicly censor you.
That's
You
right,
could-
there
you
you
could,
go.
you could publicly censor.
Regretting buying.
Where's my library board member immunity? I think it's so important to say that.
Alright, sorry.
Okay, well,
I think that was somebody's phone.
okay. Amy, while we still have you, and I thank you for joining us. I know you are probably supposed to be on vacation or doing something more fun right now. On the acceptable use of end user computing devices policy, I did have one question about, there's a component in there, and I'm not gonna find it exactly right now, but it's one of the bullets. But it basically boils down to, it seems to take a pretty strong stance that employees aren't to use their library devices for any kind of personal use. I was just wanted your read on how practical of a requirement that is, or how much you actually think we have employees using stuff for personal use. I just don't wanna like put all of our employees in a situation where technically they all get fired for watching Netflix on their work laptops.
Sure. That's a great question. And I did get your questions ahead of time, so I've had a second to kind of think through this. And it's something that we've gone back and forth on within our work group, using personal devices for work related and vice versa. And I personally would like to draw a hard line between the two. If you have a district device, it's for district work. It's not for Netflix. If you have a personal device, it's not for work related unless it's been pre-approved. We've had, and that has come up with Mac users a lot. We have a lot of Mac users who are not using their work computers for work related things that they're doing. And we can't protect the data that's on your personal device. If it's work data, we can't protect it on your personal device. If you're using a district device for personal things, you could be bringing in things into the network that could be harmful. Again, it comes down to what we can support and what we can control. And so I would like to draw a hard line with using district devices for personal things. I mean, if you're taking a break and you're checking your Gmail, I mean, that is minor compared to taking it on vacation, for example, and using it to file your taxes and things like that. We have found a lot of personal files on district SharePoint and emails. And so we're trying to eliminate that. And so by eliminating personal use on district devices, I think that will help also eliminate personal data on district devices. Does that answer your question, Andy?
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think the policy does do a good job of noting that as an employee, your expectation of privacy on your work device is extremely limited, and people should take note. But no, I understand your position. I think it's just one of those things where if this is a cultural shift, I would make sure you go through the processes of changing the culture before we would start to enforce this or crack down.
Yeah, and that's a great question. I don't think it's much of a cultural shift. We did find a lot of personal identifying information when we scanned all of the drives that we're working on having staff remove now. So we're kind of starting fresh. This is actually black and white for them. There was really no policy on using personal devices for work related. And so this, yes, it's a small cultural shift, but not terribly, going to be dramatic for them. So we're starting it now by having people remove all of their personal files off of their work devices. And we'll continue that training as we, once this policy is read and acknowledged by staff. So staff have not seen this yet.
And from a cultural point of view, the city had a similar policy. And so, now I don't know what the people who came over from the city represent, typically between 50 and 60% of the employees. But then the other 40% have never had a policy. And so that's part of the reason. This policy will not strike those people who came over from the city as in any way strange. It's representing that.
I had a question about something different.
Please.
In section E2, which is at the top of page 15, so this is a list of prohibited uses. This might be like just a language or grammar thing, but so there's a sentence that says employees are prohibited from using computers to engage in activities illegal. And then there's like this bulleted list, but we don't explain what the bulleted list is. So I'm assuming it's just a list of prohibited uses, but the question is this meant to be inclusive? Like, are there prohibited uses that might not be on this list? Or is this everything that's considered prohibited for the devices? So I just think we should be clear about which of those things, what is this list, and then is it inclusive or exclusive?
And Carl, what would be the phrase that you would use as an attorney?
What's that?
What would be the phrase that you would use as an attorney? Would it be things such as this could be considered?
Like the following are activities that would be considered illegal or in violation of district policies, like, and then you have to add something
It's
about.
illustrative, but not.
Yeah, like a non-exhaustive list
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Including
Including but not limited to.
I'm like, I don't know this stuff. I'm like, what's that?
This
So I
just me,
think
like, the guts of this policy, so I just wanted to make sure we're clear about what this list is.
Good point.
I don't think that this list is exhaustive. I think it's trying to hit on some of the larger infractions that have been commonly seen, but I think adding a statement that says something to the effect of it's not an all-inclusive list would probably be a smart thing to do. So great suggestion.
So how about this? Is there any more feedback on the policies? We'll take some of the feedback we got tonight. I think the change that Cara suggested we'll probably just make. We'll recirculate it back to Focus Connect with some what about if and see if it is their estimation that we would pass the auditors with those things, and then we'll bring you back a revised policy at the very least answers to those questions, and then we can approve it at either at a future meeting.
Okay, on the mobile device access, I just wanted to, this is for the remote, I guess, like what kind of data can people use their mobile devices? Like, do people have they're issued iPads, or are they doing work on iPads? Are they like or like is it just email on phones?
Teams network is on.
Teams and email. Yeah, but there's not like, they're probably not conducting like manipulating files or saving stuff to like shared drives on that.
I wouldn't underestimate anybody. I think particularly younger generations use their phones for everything. So I think it's the full gamut of, what you could do on a PC, you could also do on a mobile device.
Yeah. And how, these are probably, most people we don't have too many district cell phones, do we?
We do not. No, we have less than a dozen, and they're mostly for people who are in the field.
Yeah, okay. And and do they access it like their email through like the Microsoft email app, or is it like a downloaded to the phone through like the little phone, the Apple? I'm guessing most people so like my work, we can't access it through we have a Microsoft app that we have to enter to.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how it's accessed for people? Or?
That's how it should be accessed. You download the Outlook app or the Teams app or the OneDrive app, and you're using the applications. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll, I guess, look at these policies again. I appreciate that. Could we approve the remote access, or do you just want to bring them all back?
I don't know, given one way or the other.
Okay.
You may want to approve it, we have a bunch of others.
Yeah, I would like to at least approve one of them.
Yeah.
I think we could approve both, in my opinion, the acceptable use and end user and the telework if with the changes we discussed to section 2.
So the changes to section 2 would basically be just actions, including but not limited to, prior to that list of bullets.
Yeah, after district policies, and then including the not limited to. And you might add an extra bullet that's like, I mean, you kind of have, I think you got most of it covered. So, yeah.
I'm fine to vote on it now, we should just be clear on exactly what we're voting on, so let's be specific.
Yeah, I will. So is it, I will make a motion to approve the Boulder Public Library District acceptable end use computing device, internet and technology policy, and the remote access and teleworking policy.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, those two.
Great,
thank you.
And Amy, if it's helpful to you, let me know, I'm happy to chat through any of the password policy stuff.
Yeah, that sounds great. I will likely take you up on that.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All right.
Amy.
Thanks,
Where are you
everybody.
calling from?
I'm calling from Devil's Tower. It's in Upper Wyoming.
Amazing.
Seen any aliens?
Yeah.
They actually showed Close Encounters of the Third Kind last night at the campsite I'm sitting in, so it's pretty fun. And Devil's Tower was in the backdrop. It's pretty awesome.
Did you build it out of mashed potatoes?
That's tonight's activity.
Good job finding Wi-Fi.
Yeah, seriously. Thank you so much for calling in on your holiday.
Thanks, Amy.
Not a problem. Thanks, everybody. All right, bye-bye.
Okay, treasurer report. In small print.
What's up?
In small
We have
print.
the finance report, right? I don't think we have anything other than that.
Bi-monthly, no, treasurer report?
Do we have a finance report?
Or finance report? Okay, finance, okay, go ahead.
Is there much to say about this? I mean, I annotated it and
There was a memo in here.
Oh, there's a memo.
Oh, I did, okay. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, I don't have anything other than what's in the memo.
Yeah. So if you read the memo, you heard about the decision on changing banks, we're not moving forward with that. And the draft financial audit is in the packet, and I believe the auditor will be joining us about 7 o'clock. Yep. We're still considering putting forward an operating budget adjustment for this year, and that will be in September if we find that we need to do that. And then the bi-monthly financial reports are included. They changed a little bit in format. This year, we have both all of our funds, capital grant and operating funds on the balance sheet. And then on the statement of activities, we have operating and grant. There isn't actually a capital fund, so I think we can remove that column from the balance sheet. Let's see.
And this
We
is
do
through July 10th?
This is July, yes, through July 10th. So we will be working with the auditor and with our consulting, the consulting company on including depreciation and assets in these reports. That's something we're still learning ourselves about, so they may change again and include that information. And then also we learned that it's better for us, we get a better picture of, a point-in-time picture if we run the report through the end of the year rather than the end of the quarter or the 2 months that you're looking at. So these reports and future reports will include a few days into the new month of transactions, but the previous month will be complete. And I annotated the reports. I don't know if you want me to read those notes or if you have any questions about those notes.
Couple questions. One, David May is our banker with JP Morgan Chase?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna understand that. And then, can you just describe this cash flow 360? What's a free payment solution?
So it's a system that we log into and we pay our bills directly through JP Morgan rather than issuing checks ourselves.
Okay.
And so I guess you can purchase it as an add-on to your finance system, but because JP Morgan is our banker and they own billing.com, I think is what the product is that they sell. Cashflow 360 is the same thing as billing.com, but it's free to bank members.
Okay.
And it's a much simpler platform to use than we were previously using with JP Morgan. And so that was very complicated and it couldn't do everything we needed it to do. And so we were ready to shop around for a new bank that had an easier system to use. And I think we suspect that maybe the banker was listening to some of these meetings when we talked about it with you a few months ago. And he came up with a solution to make this Cashflow 360 work for us. So what was missing was secondary approvals of transactions. We needed to have that.
Thank you.
I like how on the statement of activities, based upon what you said about running it through the end of the year. So over on the statement of activities, it has it created on, and then it has like July 10th, and then, so I'm wondering if we could do that on the balance sheet as well, just in case like it got picked up or somebody saw it, like you would never know how to like pinpoint when that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll do that.
One quick question, the statement of
What do you mean?
Oh, so like if you just look at this, you wouldn't know like when,
Oh,
but on the other
Oh,
one,
I
it
see,
does
I see,
have,
right,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
On the statement of activities, it looks like the property tax collection is still roughly $1 million short of projections. Do we expect that to ultimately come in still, or
Yeah,
is that?
at the end of the year.
That was my memory, also is that it like,
It was kind of
There's like
lag,
another
because we're
lag,
through the
yeah.
big 2 payment dates now.
yeah.
Yeah. the first 2 years now, I think it's 3 years almost now, it's been on a pace to, we receive almost 95% of the money by the July payment. So January and February, virtually nothing. March, we get a huge check, and then it kind of filters into the next 4 or 5 months. By the end of July, 95% of all of the tax receipts have been received and allocated to us for the treasurer's work. Then it's drips and drabs every month through the end of the year.
Okay.
Hope to make up that last one.
Also, I just wanted to know that the cafe is crushing it.
They know They must be
I thought it was a typo.
In more ways than just the cash receipts,
Yeah.
that cafe, I mean, I know we all know this, but the cafe makes a difference.
Mhm.
It truly makes a difference.
Yeah, I think I walked through on Saturday afternoon after they closed, and it was still just packed full of people. I was like, okay, that's great, but, okay. Yeah, so it looks like, personnel is, being one of our largest expenses, is trending under and,
Okay.
how do we think that's gonna end up?
We'll be under, for the year. I think there were a few, we do try at the beginning of the year, especially as we've been growing so fast, to space things out by timing. And so I think we only calculated in salary, like 80% of the gun barrel staff. We still haven't hired all the gun barrel staff. So they're being hired now. Most of them won't begin probably until the middle of August on the payroll. And so that is one of the biggest things, because that's like 5-6 people that's putting us tracking behind. There were a couple of positions that the board approved, that in conversations with the supervisors, managers, we asked them if they could hold off on, for a time being, because there was so much uncertainty around the economy. Really between January and April, there was, I don't want to say uncertainty, there was people were terrified, and there was a lot of strange economic projections coming out. Most of them have not come true now and by July, but it's not to say that they won't. But it's like there was a lot of doom and gloom between January and April. We decided to hold off on some of the positions.
And those teams, were not,
No, they're
didn't
growing.
have the capacity to hire those positions at that time anyways. So the only one that's, going to be hired, we're in recruitment right now, is the graphic designer. The literacy specialist and the learning and development coordinator will probably hold those vacancies through the end of this year.
And perhaps next, depending upon what we see from the treasurer at the end of August. So.
Yeah,
So was your question about like where we're gonna land in terms of savings?
I would potentially like to have savings there.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I projected, or I use, put together a statement that gives us cost by, pay period. So I have the budget for the pay period, and through, I think the end of June was the last time I ran it, we had a surplus of $1 million. So it's probably gonna be slightly above that.
Yeah, great, because, if we're flat sales, property tax, flat next year, and then we have inflation, we gotta make up money somewhere. And so, if it's savings that we already have, that's awesome, because then we don't have to make any hard decisions, like, really hard decisions. So, that's great, okay, good.
Yeah, we're gonna begin looking at the budget again in August. I like that your retreat. We probably won't. I think we are maybe gonna have an August meeting, maybe not, but I think we plan on bringing the budget update there. There's a million ways to slice it. You just have to tell us which ways you want to. I'm gonna be presenting it to you in another way again this year. Like, we'll keep this this is the official document, but there's a lot of different ways we look at it from a lot of different ways. I would encourage you, like, personnel is the biggest expense, right? It is roughly around 60% of the overall budget at all times. That is the nature of the service organization. It compares to a lot of other libraries. There are a few libraries that are less than us. They are substantially different. Like, they may not even have any kind of programming, right, that they do at the library. There are other libraries that are significantly over 60%, in the 75 to 78 range of their budget is spent. That's just part of being in the service economy. You want to pay a lot of money for staff. It's critical for the public. I mean, I still think probably half the public thinks the library is a place to go and get free stuff, right? And so we spend a lot of money on the free stuff, books, that's a couple $1 million a year. More when you tie in the processing, more when you tie in the staff that are associated with actually making sure that books go on the shelf, it's probably close to,
So
15% of our budget.
that's the other question I had on the collections.
Yeah, it's tracking.
It's tracking a little, she's a little underspending. Or does she just have big goals?
No, it's time, so the publishing, yeah, the publishing industry runs in cycles. And so the biggest cycle that we have in the publishing industry will happen in September and October. That's when most books are gonna be coming out. Probably many of them are already on order, we haven't been built for them yet, but you can see, by the time we get to December, there aren't a whole lot of books that are coming out at that time of year, but it is episodic, month to month it changes. It's fairly predictable. Laura Hankins, our head of collections, is very tuned in to that pace, and she spends accordingly every year. You'll see that variation throughout the year, every year, month to month spending.
So we don't plan to have savings in that area.
No, I don't want you to have savings in that
Okay.
area. Or personally, that's my thing, is spend that money, that's what we're supposed to do, so.
So between personnel, books, non-personnel expenses, the one thing that jumps out at me, and I think probably has jumped out at you, you guys have mentioned it several times, is the amount of money we spend in contracts. And so, our security contract is, near $1 million. Our IT contract for Focus Connect is near $1 million. And so it's a lot of money. And I think we have to, in the startup phase, Amy shows on the call anymore, but I'll quote her anyway, is like, almost everything we looked at, we took the Cadillac and not the used Chevy. And so we've now had a year of using them, a year and a half, we have to have begun to evaluate what it is we truly need and what is the most effective and efficient way of spending taxpayer money. And those two jump out. Security contract and the IT services network management contract is the two largest ones that we have. And it's a lot of money.
So my last comment is on the capital.
Yes.
And how, the upstairs, when's that started? Have you signed contracts for No, okay, that's still getting.
It's still in design phase.
Still in design phase, okay.
Yeah, I still haven't seen
Okay,
designs.
and then, HVAC seems to be working better.
It's better
this
when
year. I don't know if it's just because we haven't had super hot days, but.
Well, we've had the controls to the extent that all of the mechanisms are working that we still don't understand, right? So
Yeah.
we have had mostly control of this HVAC system throughout the course of this year, which is not true last year. We didn't get control of the system until June. By that point, it was too late. We had had a number of hot days and there was humidity. We were way behind. It's difficult to catch up. And especially at this building where we're using a swamp.
Yeah.
Basically a glorified swamp cooler. A lot of improvements we made, the shades on the bridge and the children's area have made a huge difference and offset some of those things. We are in complete control of the controls. There are clearly some events and things that are not working properly. We will have that, will be an expense that we have to adjust to. So it is hard to manage the system that we have, but it's operable, right? It is operable and I believe our facilities manager, Andres, believes that he wants a full year of seeing what it's like before we actually decide to buy something.
Okay.
And I am
We
completely.
do have a project
That's
in
underway.
play right now about looking at the controllers and all the mechanisms. So we
Yeah.
had them inventoried and the vendor's going to rewrite the software and hopefully give us more remote access to the building so we can control them from not being on site and having to control them. So we're doing that work right now.
The shades have made a huge difference. It's weirdly cooler in there with the shades down in the morning.
And the other expenses around the capital outlay, right, the gun barrel was the largest representative here. But the facilities teams, and you'll see this also in August, the capital report, the facilities team has been able to knock a lot of stuff off of that assessment that we had done right when we formed the district, and we had the company come out and do an assessment of all the buildings when the state was talking about, like, we're gonna give them all to you, or we're gonna rent them all to you, we want to know what it is we're getting, and the list came back as like, you know, millions of dollars of stuff to fix. They have been hammering away every day at things on that list, and so that list is significantly shorter than what it was when we started. I'm really proud of the work that they've done. I mean, there's still obviously some glaring things and there are new things that we didn't anticipate, you know, but by and large, there is progress. And that facilities backlog, which initially we thought was gonna take us 15 years to address it. It may be infinite now, with old buildings, the process is really kind of infinite. Many, I'm sure some of you have lived in an old house or had an old car, you just keep pumping money back into it. But nevertheless, I do feel a lot better where we are than where I felt a year and a half ago.
Do we have any cooling issues at any of the branches?
Not so much here. Like Novo is awesome. Meadows is a part of a gigantic mall. And, you know, I think there are days where they feel like it's too hot or too cold, but it's also just, you know, it's one of those things we're trying to control whatever the square footage of that space is. Reynolds, not so much. Reynolds, from an energy perspective, Reynolds is one of our best buildings and has been. Which is surprising. It's just, it's amazing what you can do if you build a brick building that doesn't have very many windows, right? So not having windows in a climate like this has made that building relatively stable. The envelope itself is not great, right? The roof, we're probably gonna be talking about a roof sometime soon. There's elements of the bricks and the pointing and, you know, everything else like that. It takes constant maintenance, but I'd say it's in pretty good shape.
Okay. Any more comments on this budget? Kind of we're getting new looks every time, and it's getting better and better, and I think this is a really nice way to look at it. I think that's a nice way to see what's going on. Okay, we'll skip the auditor until the auditor comes online.
Do you want to jump to the agenda retreat?
Yeah.
So I mean, there's one error at the beginning. It's Sunday, August 24th. I was thinking it was Saturday.
And it's Navy.
There's two errors. So what page? Tara's missing from
Yeah.
the names.
That was really good.
And Nadine is, and Natalie is.
And then I copied and
And Nadine
pasted,
is-
sorry about that,
Um,
Nadine.
It's okay.
Location is still to be determined. If we have occupancy and the building is not yet open, which is a distinct possibility, that's like to have a gunbarrel, I think that's gonna be fine, right? If we have occupancy and the building is not open to the public, which not open to the public seems like a guarantee, whether we have occupancy or not by August 24th. It's gonna be like, we might get it on the Friday before, it could be one of those, well, right, we can show up and be there. If we're not gonna be there, we'll probably be at the main library here, in this candy here. The agenda, I'm happy to take any questions that you guys may have. You know, obviously, we're gonna walk you through, you know, the strategic priorities document that we have internally. So a little bit of talk about the near-term financial forecasting. We've been putting some of that together on a presentation or just a short document that you can read. We have some notes for you to consider. And then looking at the 26 operating and capital budget overview, which we're putting together this month in conjunction with the staff. We've reviewed all of the proposals that have come in from the staff. We're still refining the budget to get it within you know, a balanced budget for the year. There's a lot of proposals obviously came in. The staff, I don't know, we haven't spent a lot of time talking about to the staff about the leadership team is fully aware that we have to put on brakes a little bit. We have not spent a lot of time talking to staff. All staff are able to submit budget proposals. And so we received quite a lot of them, great ones, great ideas. Some of them probably things that we should do within our current budget and figure out a way to do it. Others are probably some things that we're gonna have to put off. Others are things that we're looking at that might be something that the foundation may be interested in funding. And so it'll be a good process. Right now, it's getting close. Let me say, yeah, I think it's getting really close. We've been through several meetings together with the leadership team to review all the proposals and talk them through and decide which ones we can put off, which ones we might need to think about. And it's still for us to fill in. Take a break, come back for a board discussion. I know there's been quite a lot of interest from the board and then also showed up on our survey, issues around safety. I think there have been at least 3 board members who've talked about various points over the past year about how we better engage the community. I think that'll be a timely consideration. Whether we have it there, or whether we put that back to the the presentation of the strategy for 2026, I don't know if it'll be, like, maybe we can move it into that part. We just had 2 people attend Harwood Institute over the last week, which is a whole program about community engagement. They came back really excited. Apparently, they all stuck around after hours and were talking to the facilitators. So I'm sure we're gonna have a bunch of really great ideas. It is also, I just want to point out, as we do the strategy, I don't want to tip your hands either way, but like, when we were at the city, there was a huge value placed on how many people we reached, right? And so.
How many what?
How many people we reached. And so when the library did the master plan through 2016, 2017, 2018, we reached more people than any city department had ever done so before. It came at some expense, quite a lot of effort, a whole lot of creativity. It was super fun. But I don't know, I think it's a reasonable discussion for us to have when it comes back around to cost. Is like, are we gonna find out something different by talking to 4,000 people than we would know from talking to 300? And I do want you to have a robust, because it's fun, like, we love it, but it's money, right? And then it also perhaps extends the period of time within which we create a strategy. For the city, it was easily a 2-year process. I think we fired 2 consultants, and in the midst of it, in the end, Jennifer wrote that great report with probably 5 months of diligent hard work, coalescing all the data that we had received, and we couldn't get a consultant to be able to write work that was the city would accept, right? And so, or what was the standard for the city? And so I would like us to think about that too, right? Is it the way in which the document is written, or is it really to communicate the message? Does it have to be 143 pages, or is it going to be fine if it's 12? Do we have to identify clear capital projects, which was the objective of the city's master plan process? Or can we say, like, hey, we need to think about how to invest more in the fun and excitement and maker spaces in all the other branches? Or do we need to say, like, here's a project, this is what we're gonna do, this is how much it's gonna cost, which is kind of about the city rate project. So I think there's some things that will be different for us this time around. I think it will make the strategy a little bit more legible to the public, I hope. And a lot of it comes back around to that community engagement part of how we decide to do it. And then we wrap it up, and then there's the time at the end for trustee matters and things that we haven't talked about. But I'm happy to move it around in whatever way you guys want. It's your retreat. We're there for telling you what you want to know. So there are things that are not on the list. Love to hear it. Yeah.
So I wonder if there'd be an appropriate time for the city to provide an update on the comp plan and this 15-minute neighborhood communities, citizen assembly, neighborhood community assembly is what they call it. In this process I've been advising on, because it might be helpful to just hear where that's at, just for people to begin to think about, sort of service area issues and what might be some of the things surfacing there. So I don't know if it'd be timed right with wherever they're at in their process by August 24th, but to have maybe just a staff update or something like that.
Yeah, Jennifer and I are meeting with the committee, I think, in the first month. Oh, maybe the end of July, I will ask, would you rather they came, or would you like us to report out on what they're?
Whatever seems appropriate, just in terms of.
We certainly can report out.
Yeah, because it might just inform people just about just the whole 15-minute neighborhood discussions and the issues that have surfaced there from their process.
Maybe right after lunch, if they can.
What is this process?
It's a part of the comp plan, the comprehensive plan update, but this community assembly is focused on 15-minute neighborhoods, and they've been studying the issue and learning from other communities, and then planning to kind of survey the area. So a place that you can get to within 15 minutes.
It's supposed to be like all your stuff is within.
Like a grocery store, it could be a library, your school, your,
This explains what.
access.
This would not apply to me. Yes, I do, I don't live in it.
But it's also interesting to just see their mapping of where you can, like by bike, some would argue that there are many 15-minute neighborhoods throughout Boulder, but it just depends on your form of transport too.
It's been a guiding principle of Boulder Valley comprehensive plan since almost its inception in the 70s, right? So it is a guiding thread that the city uses for a lot of the planning. It's kind of what led to discussions of the gun barrel and Novo library for 30 years that never actually happened because the money wasn't there, but it was a guiding thread. And so it's still around, right?
But
It's still,
It's including more than just the city of Boulder, I believe. It's
yeah,
Yeah, it's
comprehensive
the
plan.
comp plan, it's the valley.
Valley, it kind of goes, it almost, the whole
Mirrors the
district, almost mirrors the district.
And so that's why, I mean,
Yeah.
just as we think about strategic planning and future
Yeah.
looking, just
Yeah, it'd be
helpful to
nice.
incorporate that piece.
It's a good point. I think that would be nice to hear. If we can get someone to give us.
If we can, and Jennifer was on the committee last time and I know the people,
Yeah.
I knew the last.
You know, like
one.
maybe Vivian, who is in charge of this
Brand
piece,
new
or Brenda,
organization.
yeah.
And we do, I still meet with the city manager's office once a month, and like we've been asking about, you know, there are things that if you're not aware of, it's important to kind of keep it in mind, like the Table Mesa Library, George Reynolds, right? Like that is essentially a locked neighborhood. We have the service area identified as basically 16,000 residents. There is literally no place for it to go. I mean, unless the federal labs are all shut down, they sell that property and then they suddenly decide to make it housing or something like that. That neighborhood is, it changes generationally and that makes a difference to us, but some difference to us, but it's not like a neighborhood that's cut grossly. East Boulder, on the other hand, parts of Southeast Boulder, baseline, obviously it's been growing up a lot over the last few years. North Boulder is probably slated for one of the largest potential areas of growth. It's never been, nobody's ever said we're gonna do it, but Area 3 is an area just north and east of the North Boulder Library that could add, I can't remember the last I heard, somewhere between 1,500 and 3,500 single family units, which would something make the Noble Library too small, right? You know, so there are things where patterns of growth within the community are identified within, what's potential. Gun Barrel is another place where there's quite a lot of potential for growth and development. There's a development that's been approved and slated to start housing development that's right on the main street that we're on, right? Like that's an empty lot, you probably know it.
Yeah.
Just up for King Supers, it's a multifamily housing, I think 64, 74, 84 units.
No, 180. I think there's like 60 affordable, permanently affordable.
And there's another one over by Celestial Seasons, which hasn't actually
Maybe.
got off the ground, but has been spoken of for a number of years now. So, where growth is happening is an important one for us to keep in mind as we plan out 3 to 5 years, really right now. I mean,
What
Yeah.
what do you mean by partnerships? What does that call it?
partnerships is something that, I don't know that it's gonna take a long discussion. That was one of the things which,
Tom?
Tom has brought up and others have brought up. It's something that we've certainly been looking at. I mean, I do believe that partners are kind of a critical leg on the table of the library. We've begun that process. We haven't really invested heavily in it. Proposals did come forward this year in the budget. I don't think we'll be able to fund them, but I do want to know what the board's thoughts are about building on some partner organizations. Sundance will be the gorilla in the room when we start talking about partnerships and how it is the case that we may either want to adjust policies that for everyone or make a special partnership policy that would allow for certain activities of partner organizations that we would not necessarily just say to the public, but for right now, we don't have that. We make exceptions, we do make exceptions all the time, but those are not necessarily easy, as you can imagine. If you were here, you would also want things to be black and white, that you know the answer to every single question when a patient asks you. As it is right now, we're kind of in a little bit of a flexible space. We will be bringing forward a partnership policy. Look at end of this year, beginning next.
Like if Sundance wanted to show a film here, could they?
Who?
If Sundance wanted to show a film, like the library.
Yeah, what they're gonna wanna know is if they consult.
Yes.
Right now, our policy prevents anybody from selecting this. No, they're very interested. Their board, their full board visited the Kennedy Theater. They came to visit us, I think 5 times during the consideration phase. We sent a staff over to Sundance. We are in communication with them. I mean, I have no doubt that they want to use the theater.
Yeah.
It will be, we'll have to either think creatively and say, come in and do what you want, it's not a library program, we're out of it, or maybe there's a relationship or a partnership, or getting things year round from them, and you do decide that that's an okay use for the library, that they take it over for a couple of weeks and sell tickets. Then the question is, for some staff working for the festival and like the projection system, or we say you need to bring in your outside ones. There's a lot of questions that have to happen. But it's not just that. There are half a dozen other groups that have to use the space in some other ways. We're trying to make accommodations with some local groups that are not for profits, but nonprofit organizations like as El Centro de Amistad. They are having a big 2-day festival here that is in line with the work that we do. They're bringing like 150 teenage Latino girls to the library for a day to take over the whole place. I can't wait. I think that's an awesome use of the library, but it's complicated because we're doing things for them differently than we would for somebody just walking on the street.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, okay.
Can I ask about the trustee matter section?
Yeah.
I mean, do we wanna try to pin that down a little bit? Otherwise, I mean, we could just be like spent by that point and go, oh, no matters, we're.
No, Tom had some matters he
Okay,
wanted to
'cause,
discuss.
yeah, 'cause-
And then we probably, one of the things we'll wanna do is just like wrap up in goals or, one of the things we talked about was, director goals and, strategic priorities, so I think we'll wanna,
Maybe we should.
strategic, or I shouldn't say strategic priority, I should say annual goals for the director.
I was gonna ask where that lives.
I would think at the end, interesting, because last year was our first year doing it, and so we kind of towards the end formed a list of goals. I don't think we came in intending to do that, but I think we came in at the end kind of, okay, this is our definite direction for the year, and this is what we want to focus on, and a lot of execution. But I'm hoping by the end, if we tell David to create a special policy for certain organizations or that meet our goals or something, that could be one of the things. Just an example, Tom, one of his things I told Sylvia this is, creating a partnership with the Wind River Reservation and how, so we need to explore that. And we have 2 other things, tapping forward expertise, something we wanted to talk about, so we'll put that in trustee matters. And role of outside consultants, I don't know if that really is in community engagement but he can bring it up in both places. Safety was already on here, so I think we've captured his points he sent me an email, so.
So we thinking 9 to 3?
yeah, I think so. We have the safety question. We could easily be there till 9. I'm gonna make sure that we're not, but I think we can begin that discussion. And I am, as we begin the safety discussion, we have a lot of good data points, right? I can't remember what the percentage was, but in the last survey, we said that they used paying a significant portion of them said they didn't because they did not feel safety. I talk with customers every week, related to me for one area or another, and I I've been here every day throughout the pandemic and since, and it is a very real perception. I think we need to talk about, you guys are gonna need to tell me what it is you want to do, right? Like, I know our incidents are down, our visitors are up. I know violent crime is down, I know property crime is holding steady. And I could bring Chief Redfern in to talk to you, we could show you data points from the police department has a great data guy, he's awesome. I don't know that any of those are gonna answer the question. And so what I need to know is like, how are we gonna thread this needle? Because it is not uncomplicated, right? At the same time that we say that we have issues around safety, we also, it's a hard one to swallow. We're looking at $1 million, we spend more money on security than almost 2 branches combined. That's a thing that we need to be, we need to all be on board with that.
Yeah.
And if we're not, we need to figure out how to thread that needle. Because we can't say people don't feel safe and then we're gonna reduce the security contract. I mean, we have to think it through. And I need your all's best guidance on this issue because if we go from 4 to 3, 2, or whatever, if we don't have guards and branches every hour of the day, that's a different equation, right? Than what we have right now. Like you follow all the social media, you've heard all this stuff, it's a police state. It's there, everybody's running rampant, like it's all over the map, but nevertheless, there is an element of the public who has a perception of that. And I gave up a long time ago trying to change that perception. I would like them to come to life and have a good experience. And we spend a lot of time after that, but I don't tell them you're wrong. I don't tell them I feel safe. That's not helpful.
Okay. I think it will be a great day, hopefully, and I feel like as a board, we're more versed in all this stuff now, so like, we'll probably be able to, you know, have a even more deeper discussion, I'm hoping, on some of these things. So yeah, and I think, you know, hopefully we come out with some good goals. And like, for us, my goal is that we know what we're gonna focus on. What is our, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 things that we need to tell David to do? So, or that we focus on ourselves, because, like, I think Kristen was saying with the foundation, you know, like, we don't have goals, like, we don't know what we're working for, so that's really our goal, I think, is to like, and we can't work on everything, so and the staff can't work on everything or everything we talk about, so we need some of those guiding principles to leave the meeting with, and I think we will get there. So, yeah. Any other things? You know, we can always add things to the trustee matters or at the beginning of the meeting. We won't record that meeting. We don't take any votes or anything on that. Well,
We do record it.
we did record it.
We recorded it last year.
You don't typically take action.
Don't take actions, yeah.
We noticed the retreat.
We noticed the retreat, yeah.
I see it. The auditors.
No, well, oh, there she is.
Hey.
Hello.
Okay, well, any other comments on here before we wrap up? And if you have anything else, please email me. So that it's actually the 24th, I think, maybe we did mention that, not the 23rd.
Yeah.
Okay, fixing all that stuff.
Sunday.
It's a Sunday, yeah, and we'll get Snarks because Snarks is next door, so you can get your order of Snarks. Snarks are Deli Zone, but Snarks is a Boulder thing, so is Deli Zone. So it's Deli Zone. And maybe we'll buy some coffee in the morning or something.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll have a coffee machine. Well, that's probably not gonna solve that.
And who doesn't?
Alright, so, auditor.
Well, I mean, yeah.
So this goes back to page
28.
28. Thank you. Who wants to present this? Are you-
Well,
Lillian, or-
it's only if you have questions. Lillian, do you want to walk them through just like a brief synopsis, and then we'll open it up. So for the board, the auditor is one of the, like the lawyer and me, this is somebody you hire. They work for you. We do a lot of work with them, predominantly Adriana Boniakowski this year, but the auditing firm is McMahon Associates, and this is Lillian. Take it
Yes,
away.
can you all hear me fine?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Lillian. I've been with McMahon for 10 years. I'm the audit manager. We started on your audit last year, worked with Adriana. And this is the first year that there's really real accounting with Boulder Public Library District. Obviously, most of last year was just making sure the IGA was running smoothly with the city. So one of the items that you'll always see from us is a board letter, and that's usually where we communicate if there's any adjustments, if we had any issues or disagreements with management. So I'll share that briefly. Just give me a second. Here. Okay. So here's where first we disclose if we implement any new accounting standards. There was a new big GASB standard for compensated absences. Basically, if you have any sick leave that would result in usage despite termination payout, you have to accrue additionally for it. There was, in this instance, we didn't have any changes for this standard, but we do just disclose that we implemented it. As you can see, there were no difficulties in performing the audit. We issued a clean or unmodified opinion. That means that basically you had a clean audit. Further down, we do have a new GASB standard on the horizon. This basically just is a disclosure if you have any concentrations of revenue or risk that we will evaluate going forward, but it's not a huge standard. So overall, this board letter is pretty quiet, I would say. Usually it is, unless we have any serious issues, and then we would let you know. This is where you would find your material weaknesses if you had them. You don't. So it's a good thing that you don't see a lot of adjustments or anything crazy in the board letter. So that's kind of your communication from us that anything is awry. So, and then also just from our personal work, Adriana's super helpful. She responds quickly, which I find to be all good signs. If it takes weeks to respond or there's missing reconciliations, that's also kind of an issue for us. So thank you to her team for making sure that the audit went smoothly. Okay. And then for the draft, I'm sure most of you are familiar with the financials and kind of the position. We do include Boulder Public Library Foundation. That is because their financials are entirely related to the library district. They get disclosed a discrete component unit just in the front of the financials. Moving on, your management discussion analysis. It's pretty simplistic right now just because it's first year of operations, so we don't have anything major in here of note, unless you have any questions from what you saw in there. So I'll keep going through here. Let's head towards your actual financials. So I think one thing that's definitely different for many is this presentation of your balance sheet. So your general fund has a governmental focus, which is more a what did you need to spend right now? If you have AP, that counts. But if you have something like accrued compensated absences, that would be your paid leave that might be paid 20 years in the future. We don't include that in your general fund. The adjustment column shows the long term that would be in your typical GAAP financials. So your capital assets get added here. Your accrued compensated absences, those are your PTO liabilities. And then lease and SPEDA, that's these are both lease type liabilities, so also long-term. So that's the main difference between these two columns. This would be like your regular corporate financials, and this is more of a governmental focus, which is what is the funds you have to spend now. Any questions about that? Okay. Again, this has that dual view. So we back out the change in the long term here. So when you add capital assets, these would be your additions in the year. That would be what you actually capitalized from your capital expenses. And then depreciation, these are all long-term type activities. Your debt service principal, this is really just your lease and SPEDA principal. These get backed out because they go against the liability on a long-term basis. But they do spend your current funds in a governmental view. So that's why they are there. Okay. The notes kind of just explain everything that's in the financials. They're pretty short at the moment. I'm sure these will expand over time as things progress. I don't think there's anything to point out that's major here, so we'll just keep going.
And
Yep.
That, this was in, sorry, now I just lost it.
Is it on, 43?
Yeah, 43. What's that?
C2.
C2.
Yeah, C2. Like, I mean, I don't think we have any debt. I don't know what the,
Yeah, so it's a little weird. You don't have debt, but you do have a lease, which is now considered debt.
okay.
Yeah, and you have what's called an
Okay.
IT subscription. And those are explained in the back, but basically if you have any kind of subscription, they become liabilities. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
At work, I always have to report leases over a year.
Mm-hmm.
I know why. Okay. Okay,
Are we on to D? The notes?
the notes, yeah.
Yeah, so in the notes, I know we talked a little bit about this was a little bit of a change. So I'm gonna go to the budget and skip back to the notes. The intergovernmental expense, this is your IGA with the city where they're passing expense to you and it's being paid by property tax. So originally the amount was 12 million. However, when we actually got worksheets and spreadsheets from the city, we saw that there was a portion to 2024 and a portion to 2023. That reconciliation was received very late in the 2023 audit, so it was accrued, and that was a kind of after the budget was made. So you'll see that this 11 million was accrued back because that was when those expenses happened, and then only this was left. And so that is why your budget is it's quite a bit different right there. And then I can show again, we have kind of a breakout in the notes of how that was accrued and what they were related to in terms of expense. So that definitely your comparative on your budget is just a little bit different than 2023 because of that. Most of your expenses is sitting in the IGA expense from the city where they paid the funds and they just invoiced you. Everything else in the notes is pretty straightforward. I will show, here's your sped disclosure, and then what's just left on the subscription. So it'll end pretty soon, but if you have new ones, they'll come up. It just kind of is going to be rotating now. And then here's the implementation of your new lease for a library building. And then we kind of have a table. It can also shows the payments. That's your principal payments on the subscription and the lease liability. Capital assets, pretty standard. I don't have too much that I'll add here other than when you have a lease, you also have to show the lease asset of the building gets added. So that is a little bit new with governmental standards. Because the foundation is included as a component unit on the front financials, we just add a little bit of their endowment, other things, explanation of their assets. I think that's pretty much it for your notes. Any other major questions on any of the parts of the financials you'd like me to go over again?
Who sees the notes page for this part of the audit? I mean, who would be reviewing this besides us? Is this in the public domain? I mean, this, yeah.
I think we
but I mean, like
submitted.
the final version.
Oh, we'll get
It's submitted.
We submitted to the state.
So.
Yep.
And maybe it's nitpicky, but, so it's on D1 in the notes, but it's the definition of us. And it's as a political subdivision of the state of Colorado to provide library services throughout Boulder County. That part just kind of bugged me because we're not providing services throughout Boulder County. It's within the district, right? So does that matter to anybody but me? Because it just sounds a little broader and maybe it's not as specific as I'd like to
We
see
should
it.
probably say the Boulder district service area. I would probably be more specific,
Yeah,
or district, within the Boulder Library District boundaries, I think.
yeah. Okay,
That sounds pretty good. We can change that, or if you send me what you want it to be, that's a pretty easy change. We can definitely do that.
Good catch.
You guys will send it, if you want us to send it.
you can, okay. All right, just proof that I read it.
Just real quick, I saw there was like the Tabor disclosure. Is that more or less boilerplate? I'm assuming there's nothing
Yes.
specific.
No, yeah, all governments have to have a 3% reserve. The actual calculation of it can have a little bit of subjectiveness, but basically you just need to show that at least 3% of your fund balance is reserved for emergencies according to Tabor law.
Okay, and this was actually also with note 3B, I guess, on page 52, where it basically says the district management believes it is in compliance with the financial provisions of Tabor. However, Tabor is complex and subject to interpretation. Many of its provisions will require judicial interpretation. That's boilerplate as well, I assume.
Yep.
And our reserve is actually technically restricted more than 727,000.
Right. Yeah.
Something we'll talk about some more. I did some a number of questions and
Yeah, I mean, if you technically wanted to show it like that, we could recalculate this so that you're assigned, which is your internal restriction of 2.5 million, is less the Tabor reserve. We can do that in the future if you would prefer to show it like that, because it's kind of your ultimate reserve. But that would be fine too, or we can just leave it the way it is for now.
No, I think since we have it in there as a sign, I think that's okay.
yeah, it gives you some more flexibility, right? So I think that maybe I misled you at some point. So when we started out, we elected to set a percentage that we wanted to hold in reserve 8%, even though the requirement was 3%. That was partly to cover the January, February cap where money would be coming in future years. Right now we have plenty backed up, so it was like, we didn't really have to think about it too terribly much, but I think the board voted on 8%. We're at 12% now. And in fact, it is the work that they do, that your auditor does. They find wherever they choose the 3% that is unexpended. You do not have to set aside a special amount. 12. You need to think about the January, February lapse of really revenue coming in, but you don't have to set aside money for Tabor. It is this statement that the auditor makes where so long as there's at least the 3% that is unencumbered, undesignated, they're gonna find that as a restricted fund, identify it as the amount that satisfies Tabor, and then goes to the state in terms of doing your due diligence on Tabor. We did it in early in 2023, talked about it and set aside what you said at that point, 8 or 9, I don't know. We're 10 or 12% that we have in the account. Whether that's necessary or not, it gives you some flexibility, I guess is what I'm saying. You don't really have to do that.
Mhm.
So long as the money is there, at least 3%. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
This was a constraint on ourselves.
Right.
So I understand. That's what we discussed. The 8.
And a wise move going into the flat
Absolutely.
budget next year, but yeah, nevertheless.
Okay. Thank you, Lillian.
Yep.
I think we have to move to adopt this audit as noted with the one change to the thing. That's correct. I don't know if Kim is on, but that's correct, Tim. We have to make a formal we don't have a written motion or anything, we can just adopt it as a board.
Mhm.
Okay, all right. So, I'm gonna make a motion to approve the 2024 financial audit as indicated with the one change.
Second,
Right, all in favor of approving, say aye.
aye.
Any opposed? All right, great. So if I need to sign anything or whatever, you guys will make it, will you make it final, Lillian, and submit it to, you guys will take care of that.
Yes, yep.
If there's anything I need to sign, just let me know. Or any other. Let's see, we did the draft agenda, cool.
Thank you, Lillian.
Thank you.
Lillian.
Have a nice
good
evening. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Director update,
Yeah, real quick, gun barrels.
we have written, what page did you write?
Oh,
63.
63. Gun barrels on time and on budget, like we had the lapse, we had informed you of that lapse early on with the permitting process, which is a little longer than we thought. But we're on schedule. We toured last, Doug came out to see it. It was right at the point last Friday of like ready to zoom. We believe there are a few more inspections that we're waiting just to sign off on will be happening in the next 2 weeks before we announce what the party will be, but I think the staff has already narrowed in on a date. And we'll be announcing that soon. I'll probably know by the time we get to the retreat exactly or before. Well, yeah, that's when they're tentatively planning right now, it's October 4th, so tenants are coming, will be a big day, a lot of fun. We expect that we'll get occupancy prior to that. So as we discussed several times, we'll go over it again. When we did Novo, it was the city, we were there with the contractor, we had staff in the building, we were working for a month, getting the collection in place, the shelving in place. None of that really was, totally copacetic. And so the way we're gonna do it this time, we will get occupancy and then we will begin the process of staff going in, assembling the furniture, putting books on the shelf and everything. I assume that will happen sometime in August. And then when we are ready, which I'm assuming now is 2 or 3 weeks, when we are ready, we'll open the doors without much fanfare and start to welcome the public into the building and have a big celebration afterwards. That would be great. The incident report I included in here, I know you guys have been asking for it for a while. We rolled out a new software in March, May, I think, March or May, I can't remember which. Nah, so, the data that you have in front of you, the trend, the data, the data is what it is. I'm happy to take any questions. The overall trends, the door count is up, the incidents are down. That's a great place to be. Good.
So I was just curious about the main library north, like it seems like the numbers are a little low and then in June they jump up to 11. Do we know what's up with that?
No. I mean, most of the incidents that were reported is the north building incidents. We had somebody stay in after hours. A lot of things happen in the garden areas. So this garden area and the adjacent garden area, we frequently have to ask people not to smoke.
What does incident mean?
Incident is any disturbance in the library which requires a guard to report. We also record incidents for, and I think those are recorded here, like if a patron were just looking for them. And so they can be anything from disruptive behavior, which is probably the most common incident that we have. Issues around smoking, there's still an issue, especially in and around the building where you ask people to stop. We now give them a warning rather than a suspension right away. We were for a time suspending people for a year for smoking anything. And now we are just giving them a warning on that before they are actually suspended. I'm proud to draw your attention to the bathrooms, like that's one where it's like, in 2022 we had, and that is still highly present in the minds of the public. Yeah, the incidents in the bathroom, there have been virtually none, right? Like and that is part of the reason why we're spending $1 million in security. All the bathrooms have sensors, for motion, for vapor changes, for CO2 changes, for noise, for everything. And so, and we monitor those things on the back funds so we can have a quick response. It has dramatically changed the behavior of how people act in the bathrooms. We do not have as many public bathrooms open to the public as we used to have.
Are those in every branch?
And I don't know what we'll put them in there. We've had we had a incident, been some time ago, right around 2022 as well, in that Meadows Library.
Yeah.
But we have not had repeat incidents in other places, and certainly not with drug use. There's occasionally somebody who's slugging the bathroom. What do you think?
Are we doing anything?
No, I don't think we're putting them in Gunbear. We do
No,
have,
I just was-
we do have the sensors at Novo.
Yeah,
And that was something that because we were in the construction phase,
yeah.
because there's a heightened level of concern among the community about the behaviors that they have witnessed in the neighborhood, we did install them. The number of incidents at Novo have been pretty low, honestly, higher than the other branch libraries, but, it's,
It's pretty quiet.
Yeah.
I think biggest thing is it's such a, and I think Gumbrel will bet this too. And Meadows is like this, but it's a very defensible space from a staff to kind of see everything going on. Like it keeps it the incidents down. Although I was surprised that Novo was a little bit higher than any of our other branches, but it's a different population too in that area.
yeah, and, the incidents are across the board, right? We are, and I don't know how to polite way to put this, we are indiscriminate in terms of how we enforce the policies. I feel very proud of that fact. It could be the mayor, never has been. There's a city council member, meets people here all the time. We would throw them out and write them a suspension as likely as we would for another group. That also applies on any other end of the spectrum. There are a lot of people who use the library who have developmental issues. There's group homes for adults with developmental disabilities. They are heavy users of the library. They love the service. I've talked to every single one of the groups and the things. But yeah, there was a time recently where there was a disturbance. We gave them a couple of warnings and we had to ask them to leave the library. And that means calling the bus that delivered them, having the bus come pick people up, all the counselors, all of the absolutely together. And so it is inconvenient, but it's like we were indiscriminate in terms of there's no manner in which we enforce the policies. Policies are, boiled down to one thing. It's like it's your library, but it's not only your library. You cannot disturb other people's use of the library. And that is the predominant thing that we ask people to do.
And the increase in visits, it's not just a result of or Novo opening.
No, those numbers are up ridiculously high. So overall, the main library is up around 20%. Novo's up.
Well, yeah.
The other branches, Reynolds and Meadows are this is something we'll talk about at the retreat. So the numbers are accelerating there faster than they are downtown. I can't convincingly explain that to you, but there's certainly a lot of indicators about how people's library use, 15-minute neighborhoods, where they feel comfortable, where they feel safe. I think a lot of people discovered the branch libraries in the pandemic that had not previously gone to them. And the services there are great, staff there are great, feels a little bit more small and homey. So, there's a lot of advantages in the satellite system that we have currently. And the numbers that we've seen from Novo are absolutely shocking, right? Like they are now the second busiest location that we have in the system, by visitors, traffic, program attendance, not circulation yet, but that's probably coming if people are still reading at the levels that they do. So yeah, it's that has been a remarkable success. And if you go and talk to branch managers, they are, I think, healthily competitive. But yeah, maybe sometimes not healthily competitive. But yeah, sitting down with them and looking at the numbers and seeing what things are going up and what things are going down. Monty was pretty straightforward. She said, like, if I had a playground in a makerspace, I would easily beat Novo. Right, it's like, that's a healthy form of competition, and that is a real, that in a nutshell is a lot of the things we're gonna have to look at in the 2026 strategy, right? Like, how do we invest in these locations with public rebound, and are utilizing at a higher, coming back at a quicker rate than they're coming back downtown? What is our investment strategy in those branch libraries? So I think that's a Gunborough, I mean, Novo's been great, we don't have a playground, we don't have a makerspace, but I think it's gonna be we do know that the saturation rate, right? So the number of households that have a library card in that neighborhood. Novo is no different than any other community in all of Boulder, right? We still have something, it's a ridiculous number of cards that we've got in Novo. I'd have to go back and look at the number, but I remember like nearly 2,000, so insane when you have a high saturation rate we do. Gunborough has by far the lowest saturation rate, and when you start to extend the area of potential use, like you look at a service area, it is larger, as large as Novo, as large as Reynolds, but the saturation rate there is lower than 50%. And so if we get into just the norm, let's say 65, that is a lot of new borrowers and a lot of new people just coming through that Gunborough location.
Okay. And now, any other contract approval? Any other comments on the incident report? You guys can always meet with David separately and talk about safety and something that we talk about in our exec meeting probably every week or something, every other week. It hasn't come up lately, but just a different thing. It's always a good learning lesson, I think, for us.
And I'm I'm very comfortable talking. I talk to member of the public almost every week, right? I met with them yesterday for over an hour. And so it is a top line for a lot of people. I think there's a lot of blind spots. I'm more than happy to talk to anybody. And you should feel free to tell the public that if they have questions that they read to you, like, here's David's email address, here's my cell phone number. They're welcome to come down and more than happy to talk to you. Get him $1 cup of coffee.
I gave out his email address on Reddit the other day, so. So if you have a problem, here's the person to call. Email. Okay.
Can I ask you something? So I was just thinking about that contact form about the dog incident, or the alleged dog incident. So you responded directly to the person who wrote, right? That was the recent.
Aggressive dog and Novo.
The Novo camera thing.
We have spoken to him.
But do you respond to the form, through that form mechanism?
No, I think not.
Oh, okay.
No, in that case, he is a regular patient. The branch manager has a relationship with this person. We know him quite well. He has, he registers complaints all the time.
Okay.
And I think that's great, right? He is a concerned citizen who uses the library quite frequently, has a lot of needs, and not everything we can fix right away. This one was a little bit bizarre. It's not characteristic of him, but we watched that tape. I talked to the animal protection people. You can, if you want, I can show you a clip yourself. You can watch it. I don't know what happened, but there's nothing visible on the tape in the time in which he was in the presence of this other dog and the other person. Were part of the other parts of the story true? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Did that dog chase his dog at some other point in that day? I don't know. That we don't have that on tape. But and so there's the possibility that he's reporting something that happened at another time, and he then ran into that person again, felt intimidated by the dog sitting on the steps near the library. But they have every right to do that. That person is also a regular library customer, not as regular, but we know him. And yeah, it's not best I can say is
Okay.
something may have happened, it just wasn't visible to us on the videotape, and certainly the inspector who came out to speak with them found anything that was discoverable there.
I just want, because it came to us, I just wonder, and you passed it to David, And I just wonder if there shouldn't be some closing the loop from you to him to say, I understand David has responded or something like that.
Yeah, well, I can respond
I mean,
back
just
to that,
because
to
it
say-
hangs out there and,
Yeah, you're right,
you know.
yeah.
I got an email today, I think the manager probably did have a discussion with him.
okay,
And it could have been updated, I mean, you know, we all have good days and bad days, right?
Yeah.
And this patron has had good days and bad days at the library, but he, by and large, the staff consider him to be polite, respectful.
but just because he came to the board, I just wanna
Yeah,
close the
well,
loop there.
I perhaps, you know, it sounds like they've talked to him, I don't know if I need to respond because someone from the library's already spoken to him about this incident.
We'll just even close the loop, say, I
Yeah.
understand somebody's.
Yeah, I'll do that, yeah, okay.
Please, thank you.
You know, we talked to him quite a lot, right? And so, you know, this is the first time I think he's reached out to the board. He'll reach out to me if he thinks the stall in the bathroom is not clean, right? And so like, I'm not really the person to answer that question. But, you know, through the chain, we kind of work things out. He frequently, he does write quite a lot, and his tone in writing is very different than him in person. I mistakenly shared an email with a comment that he made with one of the staff members. He sent an email with a request. They were shocked at the language, and I apologize for that. I'm not shocked at the language at this point. We've been very clear about what's acceptable use of language and what's not. And he has made those corrections, but his tone is quite frequently, you know, it's a little bit different. If you're sitting like a chair, you get a lot of people writing a lot of different things, and people have all kinds of different tones. That's not something I pay attention that much to. I'm paying attention to what's complaining. And in this case, I thought something probably happened.
Good.
We could not find it.
All right, I'll close the loop.
Thanks.
The contract approval is for Linkso Automated Series Materials Handling. This is a sole source, so this is why we bring it back to you. It is a sizable contract. Linkso is the provider of our automated setting system. There are only a few games in town when it comes to this. The service contract is just one of those things where you're kind of locked into the dealer. And there are alternatives, right? You can hire a technician, and once that, I worked in a library where we had 2 full-time technicians. Merely walked out to disorders all the time. It was a bigger system, but that's an expensive proposition as well. So I hope you will consider this. We've had good luck with them before. We've had a service contract with them, and it's now up for renewal.
How does this pricing compare to the previous contract?
I think it's roughly similar. There's a small escalation.
And it looks like the big price jump is between year 1 and year 2, where it goes up roughly 25%.
Yeah.
Just because they can.
No, it's heavy.
It's what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that wasn't clear to me, because the maintenance visits on here don't include gun barrel, but the understanding is that this contract would ultimately include gun barrel as well.
We're jumping gun barrel on next year. So we also have a Linkso sorted that you already approved to us, also as work back in September, October. I can't remember when you approved it. That purchase of the equipment that is set to be delivered in a couple of weeks.
Okay, but this contract does cover the maintenance of that equipment as well, despite not being understood and disable the maintenance.
It's not listed yet.
We might wanna just, before
There
we
is a maintenance
sign
on the
this.
first year.
Okay.
So it probably won't get.
We should
it'll
probably at
add
least-
on the second year.
Okay, we might just wanna, cause the price jumps to 2026, 2027 year.
That's what I thought it was to do about adding cover, but
It might just be good to clarify, cause it's not in writing,
It could be
it's
that
probably not promised.
Novo was added,
Maybe that's what it is.
because Novo's a year old.
Yeah, maybe that's the jump in. But I guess that would mean we're back, so this will be an additional contract for the gun
It
barrel.
will be a change order to this one.
Probably around 10K, I'm looking at.
What would we anticipate the travel and their hotel expenses, their travel from, you know, what would we anticipate that be?
I don't know where to come from.
They do come from the East Coast. Quite a number of things we manage via, talking to them online. Right? It doesn't require them to actually come out. In the case where they come out, they often tie it together with multiple visits along the front range. And so I think our costs are mitigated there. I don't think it's sizable.
So we shared.
For the maintenance visits, though, these prices are already inclusive of their travels, what it looks like. So there wouldn't be additional cost in here for travel,
Yeah,
for the regular maintenance at least.
that's it. And it doesn't
I
say.
see here all prices exclusive of hotel.
Except on page 74 where the service visits say including preparation and travel costs.
Okay.
So I think if we had to call for something that wasn't one of these maintenance visits, yeah, we'd have to pay travel, but for the regular maintenance visits.
It's built in.
It's built in.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds like we don't really have, there's no other game in town short of switching out all of our
For the country.
equipment, which isn't what we're doing right now, so.
No, we're not pushing out all of that equipment.
Yeah, I mean, I can't overstress how critical it is that these things constantly run. You know, physical items are not what they used to be, but the structure of like cold apartments are built around this.
I think,
When it goes out for a minute, it's a.
I think we calculated, it's over 800,000 books a year, physical books that we check out. So it's like 3,000 or 4,000 a day that they're processing. That, you know, it's a lot. Amongst 4 or 5 ranges.
Do we have to do we budget for ad hoc maintenance above and beyond what's covered in this contract, or is it pretty much the contract covers pretty much everything?
It would come out of like the equipment, maintenance budget.
But
If there
is
was
that
something,
common, if we have to do that a bit?
not that I can remember.
Not in the last few years. We did have a outage in Maine sort of here, which is now approaching 12 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, the, back to depreciation and all that other kind of stuff, like, we need to start planning for new replacement costs of some of these things. And, you know, we can't just look at it as dominoes, right? Like, if the Elixir goes, I think we'll have to go back out and look around at different, if the main library one goes. Because that does handle the, you know, still local materials. And there are a number of other systems. This was one we selected back in 2013.
Do they have other library clients in the area?
There are basically 3 vendors in the national market. Lexo's one of the bigger ones. Lexo's international, actually. So we have them all over the world.
It's kind of like Otis elevator and then you have. Okay.
It all seems reasonable, but if we do a future purchase with them, we might want to try to leverage that into negotiating some of these contracts when we actually have leverage to negotiate these contracts.
When?
If we're buying another system from them
Yeah.
at some point in the future.
But we will have to. Either for a new library or for a renovated library or when this one finally breaks down.
Yeah, maybe we'll get first 3-year maintenance free or something.
Again, like we have no leverage right now, but
Yeah.
it does make me a little bit nervous, or just they can tell us how big of a chapter rate each year.
Well, we could switch to somebody, like, we could have somebody else make it.
Yeah, but they know the switching costs.
Yeah, yeah. It's like buying your printer cartridge, so.
All good.
Okay. We know this doesn't include gun barrel, I believe, so
I
let's,
don't know that, but we'll find out.
we believe, but you can check out, but I think we can approve it. You know, and if you
We
have,
don't have a real system yet, so we wouldn't pay for maintenance on the system we don't have. It's
Right.
not even
Let's
installed
say
yet.
it's more to explain, yes, escalation.
escalation
Yeah,
between
but that's Nova, because Nova
Nova was a year old.
is a year old now, and that maintenance will kick in now.
Trust Jennifer on this one.
So I move approval of this contract as presented.
Anyone want a second? I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
That concludes the director's portion. Library Foundation.
So we talked to high level before the meeting, I just have a few things about what's happening last month and the month ahead. Happy Give Something Away Day, everybody, right? July 15th is National Give Something Away Day, so give something away before the end of the day. Steve, you like to be give a gift to the foundation, I just got a pen. Thank you. He'll probably want that. We loan things at the library.
We share.
So the library put out a blast to the newsletter solicitation for us, which they've been doing about what's important now. It's been a good partnership. We've also been partnering with the library on some grants, gifts from private foundations. That's one thing that we do. I'd like to highlight. Last week, we gave the library $26,000. It included a $16,000 grant for 15 years of garden planting and maintenance on your new patio at Novo from the Single Step Foundation, private donors. $5,000 through from the Redmond Foundation, which loves summer discovery. We also passed through a $5,000 estate gift that had come in from someone who had loved the George Reynolds Branch in her lifetime. We also took in a $18,000 grant from the Leffingwell Foundation, a new private foundation in the area dedicated to literacy that's been interested in funding the ESL and Spanish language programs with the new staff member that was just hired. And so that's been a nice emerging close partnership with some private foundations. And then on July 23rd, in a couple of weeks now, we'll be up at Novo with the top donors from our capital campaign and putting a bow on that and dedicating the playground with a representative from the Colorado Health Foundation, which, as you'll recall, gave a very large $700,000 grant to help make that happen. And then finally, just talking about partnerships, we've had this pilot with the Boulder bookstore to help make them whole financially as they're bringing in bigger known authors. That'll happen again next month with David Barron, who's written another book. And it just makes me think we should talk as you guys, think about what's the win-win-win situation with the Sundance. There's got to be something in the pilot we're doing with this win-win-win with Boulder Bookstore and the Canyon Theater and the Library Foundation that can maybe be a template for Sundance too. Sundance wants the place, they want to be made whole. Tickets might be part of the mix, but so could sponsorships. And anyway, consider us a thought partner as you think about how to get to a win-win-win with Sundance coming to town. What do you want? And that would be fun to brainstorm with you guys.
Tell the story about the $18,000 grant that you gave to the ESO. Because as I understand it, the Brigator actually came to the class and got to meet some of the participants.
Yeah, and what was neat about that is this is a foundation whose CEO worked at I Have a Dream Foundation with Juan Jimenez in their prior careers. So Juan runs your whole literacy program now, and worked he was actually on the heels of Tracy Leffingwell at the I Have a Dream Foundation. And so when I figured that out, I helped get them back together and we had lunch, and then before you know it, she was visiting some classrooms with Boulder Reads and getting more and more interested. And thanks to the new annual grant program, where Juan had written an $18,000 request, which we had granted, we as your close partners were able to take that grant application, recast it, say, hey Tracy, do you want to fund this year's ESL and Spanish language classes? The answer is yes, here's full funding from her. It's like, well, we can be your close partners and we'll just call our grant next year. So here, now you get 2 years instead of 1 year. So everybody wins. But that was an example of how that granting process that we put in place internally helped me template a grant without bugging anybody and just get more money. That's all.
It's great that you're still getting grants, and I just think maybe I just watch the news too much. I'm like, everything is just become a dry desert of funding, but it's great.
Yeah, and remember, you're a growing concern, and the value proposition for a donor, I don't care if they hold the purse strings on their private foundation, or if they're making an individual donation, or if you're talking about a partnership with someone like Sundance. The value proposition is We are steady and growing, and this is a platform for you to impact your community. That's very different than we help brother out.
Yeah,
We just
right, yeah,
gotta make it through next month.
yeah, no,
That's
definitely.
very different.
You're definitely right. Great, thank you, Chris. Trustee matters. You should have received the conflict of interest and affirmation of ethics forms. And I have not done it, but I will promise to. Please sign those, and you can either give them to Celia or scan them and send them back, or take a picture and send it back to Michelle. Mitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Done.
And can you move that person? I don't know who that is.
Not me.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And then the Finance and Governance Committee. Okay. So I have a couple things here. We have a Finance Committee, and it's one of the two standing committees. We have one member of the Finance Committee being Kara, and we'd like another member of the Finance Committee from the board. If you've expressed it, I don't know, Andy, are you still interested in doing it, or I don't know if anybody else is interested.
I am happy to do it. I do not necessarily preclude anyone else's interest. I'm more than happy to do it. I mean, Kara and I get to see a lot of each other these days. She at least knows how to deal.
You work together?
There's
the other board. Oh, yeah, the other board,
foundation
okay.
together now.
Okay, so everyone okay with, unless anybody else have any expressed interest? I think it's a good place to, see what's going on. They meet monthly and do the treasurer report. Okay, well, Andy, thank you for being as part of the, I don't think we need to vote on that, but we have a nods. And then the other is governance, and I believe Sylvia and Benita would like to remain on that board. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, for 1 year for me.
1 year, okay. The big thing I think is I was hoping to come out of the governance board would be a way of evaluating David's pay structure
Yeah,
for, so that's, by the end of the year.
right.
So.
And I'm most interested in seeing through the appointment process and seeing
Yeah.
that we continue to move along towards independence,
Yeah.
if you will, in
Thank
that
you.
process, so.
When are we supposed to go back to, I guess probably next year, 2026?
End of 3 years.
Yeah.
So 2026 or 27? Yeah, okay.
But I just wanna prove our
Yeah, great.
ability.
And then, the decision to hold, an August, it'd be the third Tuesday in August, meeting. I think we should actually hold that meeting, even though we're gonna have, it'll be August 19th. I think we should, that is the regular meeting, I think we should meet then. Otherwise, we're coming into budget season, so
It's too
we can knock out policies or whatever, because September and October will be packed with probably budget stuff. And and so my recommendation is we do meet then. We don't need to vote on it, but if anybody has any strong opinions not to, we'll keep it short, okay?
Good luck on some wood.
So. That is the end of my trustee matters. Any other trustee matters that you want to discuss?
Just a couple, one informational item, I noticed on Nextdoor, I was kind of scanning for it, but I use Nextdoor for gardening tips, let me just say that. But I found that there was a message there from a new reporter from the Daily Camera who referenced the 2024 library annual report, and he asked for comments and, what's your feedback on this report kind of thing, so I just wanted to alert us to that on Nextdoor.
He's writing a story, I think, for this Sunday.
Oh.
The main stress is obviously no vote, gun barrel, and outreach outreach program that kind of
Yeah.
really started from scratch. He may cover a number of other things. We got talking, and he's very interested in literacy rates, and so beyond, he's really very interested in books and book literacy. And so it was a very interesting discussion, very enjoyable. He will not be writing a story about literacy in books, but maybe in the future. He's a brand new Daily Camera city beat reporter, and I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Me too.
He had my cell phone number though, so that's good.
Anyway, I just thought it would be interesting. It'd be interesting to see what kind of things get posted there.
Yeah, the Reddit post that referenced me by name also referenced the annual report, so I don't know where you guys posted that. They linked to the annual report.
I don't know where we're posted.
Anyway, it must be posted up there somewhere.
Yeah, it's on the webpage.
It's on the website.
On the website, so anyway,
And then, now I have another thing,
okay.
which is, and I mentioned this to David, and David suggested I bring it forward to the board a couple months ago, but I'd like to see us produce a certificate of participation or something that we can give to our retiring board members, and that's signed by maybe all trustees and that kind of thing, but something that documents their years of service
Like
to the board.
like a thank you as well, like
Yeah,
to acknowledge.
Thank you for your,
yeah,
and
I like
and that kind of thing. And so if the board was agreeable to that, David had said that he'd take that and move along. But if we need to do it from the board side, I'd be happy to help design that or create that or whatever.
I'm excited.
But do people like that?
Johnny and Sam.
Yeah.
And it's nice when it's like a board action, not just like us signing it, but like it's actually in the record of like, oh, we recognize
Yeah.
this person. Like,
Yeah, and so it
in
could be
the
like
minutes.
a resolution
Yeah,
type of thing.
yeah.
But, something that people get, that we have as part of our institutional
Tradition.
practice and.
No, I like that.
Do you want a bunch of whereas in there? Whereas.
One is probably.
Therefore be it resolved.
Therefore.
I don't know, I mean, like, something suitable for framing, right? Like something
Yeah.
might just put in their
Yeah.
office or something,
I mean, yeah,
all of.
I think we should think of something like that.
I can send you the one that you sent, Chuck.
Oh, dude.
Okay.
For which one?
We do that.
Yeah,
That'd be great. I think
and I have
that's.
like a state board too, similar. So anyway, I wanted to bring that forward because I didn't want to forget that that was something I think it's important for us to have in place. Thanks, those are my items.
Yeah, I think, I like that idea. I think the other, while you were saying that, something else came to mind and then went out of my mind, so. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just like kind of thinking along the same lines, like with what Benita was saying, like, would we ever do that for someone like in the community? Like, to like just acknowledge, like, I was thinking about Andrea Goodson, like would we wanna just publicly acknowledge what a treasure she's been to our community in this area? And, I mean, we should consider something like that.
We have to, of course, we did it as a thank you to the Bristol.
Yeah, absolutely, so maybe we should put something together like that for, just to
Can we get a
commemorate.
showing of her movie?
Perhaps.
Who's
She.
They're moving one on Sunday.
I just didn't hear the name.
Yeah.
She does a staff day virtually, but she came and did a first half day.
She recorded something for the foundation, didn't she?
Yeah,
Like
two
at the-
galas ago, they
Yeah, I
were
remember
headline. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for health reasons, it was remote and recorded, but they did a beautiful story about writing poetry in a part of the main library that they wouldn't disclose because you can find your favorite place. This was mine. And then they read that poem.
Do we need to take an action on that, or do you wanna?
What did we do in the other situation? How did we?
Tom wrote a letter.
Tom,
So,
do you wanna write a letter? We can
Sure,
do-
I would
and
write
then
a
we
letter.
could-
Sure.
We could, I know she affected you.
yeah,
We presented to their partner.
I think we could try, or we could mail it to them. I don't know if they would come to our
Which is,
okay,
meeting and,
okay,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I'll
I
look
mean,
at-
we could make the ones more difficult, but we could send it to them.
yeah.
I'm not to do it, I don't think there's any rush.
Yeah.
right, no, of course.
Um,
This idea.
yeah. Oh, this is what I was thinking of. Celia, could you create, now that we have a firm board, like, can you order, like, maybe some pieces of letterhead for us that are nice? Like, for, as a board?
That's right. Like different than library letterhead?
Yeah, from the Board of Trustees
Okay.
letterhead. Yeah, and put all of our names, maybe, I don't know, you could arrange it. We could take a look at it.
Order or create it?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, create it.
Both.
I think you can order it so that it looks nice and it's like embossed, like, so that we have official letterhead as a
And
box.
there'll also be a file you can use to, like, if you issue a Word document, you can use that letterhead.
Yeah, that's right.
Lost.
You want actual paper copies though?
Well, both.
They want a watermark.
Right.
Well, I mean,
Can we have a seal?
Can we get a wax seal?
no, it just, it looks more official, if it's nice, from the office of the trustees or something.
We still have a bunch of canceled stamps around.
It's
So,
not broken.
that was good.
Overdue.
Overdue. Legal counsel update, anything, Dave?
Nothing from me. Nothing from me.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, so that concludes our meeting, and without any further ado, meeting adjourned.
Thank you very much.
Good night, everybody.
Do we,
Good night.
do we just walk from this side or do we go out this side?
You can walk through the doors over there.